Shalom Chavrim, I'm Stephen Ben-Nun. You're watching Israeli News Live. Quick take of the broadcast this morning as we put together this really incredible information that the Lord revealed to me about what's going on with Mystery Babylon. And one thing too, I will clarify today as I do this broadcast about my stance on the Orthodox community and that of being involved in the military. I know some people think, well, gosh, Steve, you're not standing with Israel. No, I'm definitely standing with Israel. I believe that the Jewish community should defend Israel from the outside invading forces that have been trying to topple the country for years, for decades, in fact. Not just the fact that, we have to be a nation that stands together. We have to be a people, an Israelite. We are Israelites, not just Jewish. We're not just three tribes, the Levites, the house of Judah, and the house of Benjamin, the tribe of Benjamin that are together, but we are all Israelites, and we all need to come home. We're going to go into that later today, though. First, I wanted to share with you real quick, breaking this morning, 2 Russian submarines fire cruise missiles from the Mediterranean hitting ISIS targets in Syria. That's Deir ez-Zor, where this is happening at right now. And there was 7 cruise missiles and all were fired. The Russian government has released this video footage here showing actually what took place there as they give the command to go ahead to fire the cruise missiles at the targets inside of Deir ez-Zor. Now, what's really interesting is this fight that is happening right now for the city of Deir ez-Zor is kind of a retaking for the Syrian Arab Army, because if you remember back last year when the U.S. government and the coalition there actually targeted the Syrian Arab Army in this region, bombing them for over an hour, killing 60 some plus Syrian Arab Army soldiers, as well as a dozen Russian special forces that were also operating on the ground there. Now, Russia has never admitted to that part there as far as the loss of life that they suffered as a result. Russia was on the phone, of course, back then as well, trying to get the U.S. coalition to stop the bombing. The U.S. later apologized that they were targeting ISIS. I guess, as the old saying goes, my father used to always say, it's easier to get forgiveness than it is to get permission. So this is exactly what was happening. And of course, ISIS had a major advance on Deir ez-Zor as a result of the U.S. coalition bombing the Syrian Arab Army. So they have now come back and they've been able to regain this part that they were trying to take. And this here being a map here of Deir ez-Zor on there now. And the Syrian Arab Army has pushed down towards the river here. We're going to look at that in just a moment here. Let's take a look real quick. The Syrian Arab Army has pushed down towards the river on the north side of the city. And of course, the Syrian Defense Forces, which is the U.S.-backed rebels that are fighting against the Syrian army, also they're fighting supposedly against ISIS in the region. They also are pushing down to try to take the city. And the Kurds are further up here to the north coming down. And of course, the Kurds want this side, this region of Syria, in order to declare this their own territory, as well as parts of western Iraq. I think this is why the Iraqis have been involved in helping the Syrian Arab Army to stop the Kurds from actually getting their own state. And Israel supporting the Kurds for their own state. I actually support the Kurds for their own region as well. But unfortunately, I have a feeling that this has more to do with appeasing Western leaders so that they can have a stronghold in this region. And it's going to be, as we bring this out later today, this is not just about Deir ez-Zor. This is about Babylonian kingdom trying to revive its entire domain from the Euphrates River, as you can see right here, the Euphrates River, all the way over here to the Nile River in Egypt there. This was all a Babylonian territory. Even though Israel existed as a state back then as well, the Babylonians actually controlled it, and Babylon once again is controlling this region as well. So, but as well here on Jake Godin, he posted on his Twitter account here where the U.S. is responding a statement from the on the deconfliction zone that Russia and the Syrian Defense Forces and the Syrian regime started to converge along the Mediterranean, the middle of the Euphrates River. And that they're really calling for deconfliction and an agreement that the Syrian army should agree to stay on their side, so to speak, and that the U.S. will stay on their side of the river. That's exactly what's happening right now. They both have pushed in there. And it's kind of interesting that the Syrian Defense Forces, instead of pushing maybe some other part, they pushed right directly down towards the Syrian Arab army there, definitely as a gesture to say, you're not crossing this line. Now Russia, though, their cruise missiles landed here in the southeastern part of Deir ez-Zor. Let me pull that back over here for you, just so we can see this once again. Let me get to the right place here. And they are really pushing to take this part of the region once again here in Syria. And very troubling indeed that Deir ez-Zor is that there is such a battle for this, and that the sovereignty of the country of Syria is not being respected at all. Definitely not by the U.S. U.S. definitely trying to take this land away. Russia trying to help the Syrian government to maintain their land. But in reality, both sides actually have their own interests. Russia has the interest in the oil as well as the United States, and both of them using different sides of the battle here in order to secure that for their own future. But we're going to find out in our next broadcast here, as we begin to look and unravel the prophetic side of what's happening here. It is clearly the revived Babylonian, revived Roman empires gaining complete control of the region. And it's not going to stop. Believe me, the U.S. coalition is not going to stop and be happy with just helping the Kurds out on the eastern side of the river. The ultimate goal is going to be to topple Bashar al-Assad and to take all of Syria in order to take all the way to the Euphrates. This is why we've seen the Arab Spring in Egypt. We'll go into that later after this broadcast here. I'm Stephen Ben-Nun. You're watching Israeli News Live. Thank you for tuning in, and don't forget to share this with everyone you possibly can. Shalom.